I've been carving 27 years, and the first year I carved, I did a fair. I did a fair and a woodsman show, and I've been on the road ever since. The season for me starts on the 4th of July. From the 4th of July on, this truck is all packed. I usually take like 2 or 3 weeks to get the truck ready. Hook the camper on it, and it runs all the way through till October. If you ain't got it by that time, you ain't gonna get it. Faster, you know, make them faster, make it more exciting, zing the scrap wood out. And now that I've got a stage and a microphone of my own, I could talk on it all I want to. And now I'm trying to do what takes a normal carver 2 hours to do. I want to do it in half an hour. I want bigger saws, faster saws, better techniques. I want the crowd to cheer. I love this. I don't know. Once again, it's an ego thing. You know, my ego has to be constantly fed at all times. It was kickback. I got to show you because well, see that one's crooked there with a saw. The saw kicked back, and it kicked back so fast that my hand slipped off the top handle, and as my hand slid forward, the bar came straight up, and it was going like full throttle, and the saw was really kicking butt that day. It was just, you know, it was just right and really sharp, and when it hit, it felt like somebody took a chunk of broomstick and just whacked it, you know. And I took one look at it, and it didn't even, you know, the finger didn't even resemble the finger. You know, right away I felt a little queasy in the stomach, and so I just grabbed it and just went right to my knees because you know, my knees are going to go. I'm going to go into shock. I'm going to fall down, hit my face. So that was 2 August ago. It was right here, right on the stage. The eagle was right here. I was like looking at it this way, and. The best place to cut yourself is at a fair, because your EMTs, are they called EMTs? The ambulance people, they're always sitting around. They're not doing nothing. They're drinking coffee and eating donuts and just waiting for somebody to cut their fingers with a chainsaw. So they threw me in an ambulance, and after they tried to put a tourniquet on, and they life-flighted me up to the hospital. It was a long drive, so they just life-flighted me, and just luckily I had to sit around and wait. They just kept pumping morphine into me, and they got me a real good surgeon. And look at that thing. I can bend it. I got the circulation. I carved all summer. It was a heron. That's my showpiece. You missed the first couple of big cuts. I ran 2 saws down, 1 on each side, cut the big chunks. They flopped out, and I went to the side and did the silhouette. And then you came along, and it's like, all right, well, all the big fancy cuts are gone, you know. So I figured I'll make it rock while I'm cutting it. And it rocked, and it fell over. And the head fell off, the neck broke. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I made this bird of prey, long-legged water bird of prey. I'm showing my girlfriend a lot of stuff, but of course a lot of times they already know everything. You know? No, I just assume I know the rendezvous is like caring and sharing, and I ain't sharing nothing, man. You know, I don't want to say it that way. I love to teach, but I don't really. There's too many carvers out there now. I don't want to teach anybody anything. You know, I don't want to give away. This is the first time everybody up here saw my stage opened up. Because I don't go to the rendezvous and open it up. I don't want 200 chainsaw carvers seeing the way I got my lights mounted and the stage and everything. You know, that's my bread and butter. That's how I make lots of money. You know, my daily rate would be like people. I'm not even going to say it because people would be like, "Holy shit! How could you possibly make that much money?" But it's only you got that 3-month period, and the rest of the time, it's, you know, you better bank it. You better, you know, unless you plan on working in the winter, and I don't like working in the winter.
Carver starve is a way of life. The competitions are a whole other story, brother. I like coming in with the top down on the Jeep, cup of coffee in my hand, mellow, hug everybody, hello. When the horn goes off, get serious, now it's time to work. The first comp I did last year was Williamston, Michigan. There's 2 luthiers in town and a real strong art community. Everybody carves bears and eagles and stuff like that. Dude, I carved 2 cocopellis like this with flutes, okay, on top of a 10-foot tall stump, and then ran a keyboard, a piano keyboard, the whole way around and ran it off into the roots, into the ground, and then carved 19 other musical instruments all over it, from a cello and a harp and a bassoon and a oh, everything, banjo, and I carved my dad's Les Paul. I carved everything. Just every one of those instruments had one of my friend's heart tied to it, like the congas for Harold, you know, the keys for Brett. It was kind of cool. And a flute for a little girl that was just randomly walking by. What do you play? Flute? Right on, I'll put one right here. I don't believe in planning anything. I'd rather fly off the cuff, man. It is. I don't even look at a map until I start to get in close to the state I was headed for. You know what I mean? It's like Georgia south from here, right? That's not real bright. That's a north and south road. Let's figure this out. Yeah, turn right. So like I said, it's the right piece, right time, right place. You never know. You never know. Realism sometimes sells. Caricature sometimes sells. Action always sells. Emotion always sells. If I can touch your heart, I got your wallet. The zone. They call it Carver's zone. You fall into a trance, and it's just, nothing exists. And everything is there. And it's, you're living in a daydream consciously while you're awake. And it's happening in front of you. And did you ever try to control a dream when you're really sleeping, like a real dream? You can't, and it frustrates you, and you'll wake up in the middle of this thing, and you know. But when this one here, you have control of. It's crazy, and it's the wonders of everything just keep happening. Right? It's cool. It really is. I love my job. That and chicks go, he's cool.
My mom takes the kids, and we do our shows, and we're gone for, you know, 4 or 5 days. It's just a blast. It's her and I time, something we enjoy together. There's not many women that we're going to pick up a chainsaw.
Who said I'm a champion?
She would never tell you. Oh, really?
No, I just love speed carve. I love seeing how fast you could take it away and what you got there. And I'm more character-y, so I don't dwell on the detail. When you do the speed carves, it's just how fast you can get it popped away so that the audience can understand what you're doing. That's what I love doing. He never really got into it, but it's just something fun.
You're only limited to what you can think up, you know, it's just, your imagination's just always going. I can usually carve the wood with my mind faster than I can with this saw any day, so I gotta slow my mind down to, you know, if I had a laser beam, this thing would be done and I'd have it just the way I wanted it in a few seconds, but with chainsaws, it's fast.
It just depends on the log that you get, because a lot of times I just have a bunch of logs cut up and I'll have something so pictured in my head and it's going to be great, you know, in an hour I'm going to get this whipped out, and then I'll get there, and then my log's gone, the one I wanted. So I'm stuck with a shorter log, and all of a sudden I have to come up with something smaller, or a bigger log and I have to come up with something different. So it varies. It's all like spontaneous, a lot of it.
They come to see loud saws, that's why I beef them up. I actually had a big pipe coming off of one of them, and you could bark that thing for half a mile. I mean, bah, 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 and it would draw a crowd. I mean, it was on a big saw, and it just screamed already. I put that on there, and you make like 3 cuts, and there might be 100 people there. They hear it through the whole fair, and they come running. What the heck is that, you know? And you bark that thing for 5 minutes, and then you shut it off, grab something a little bit quieter, because you still want people to know you're doing something, you know?
I don't know, I just love it. I love seeing what I can complete, because as a mom, I go home and it's like the same thing over and over. I love my kids to death and I want to put my most effort into it, but it's so hard because I don't see what I'm putting into them until they get older and develop older. But for something like this, I can grab that log and bam, you know, by the end of the day, I know what I've pulled out of that and created, and I have something there for me to look at, visually see, you know, what I've created.
You don't win, you don't get much money at all. When you go home, you're sore about not winning and trying to hope you have enough gas to get home, that sort of thing. I don't go to hotels and stuff. I pack a tent, and no matter what the weather, I sleep outside. I've had some good experiences, some bad ones, some where my tent floated away around me. Sometimes you camp out with them. Some of them have great big beautiful rigs, you know. I have a tent and a truck and a couple chainsaws. A lot of reasons it's awesome. I love competition, so I love the competitive aspect. I love art, whether it's drawing, painting, and you know, you can produce something this size in what, I don't know, I spent on here an hour or something. So not only can you have instant gratification like you do drawing, but you can sell something at a reasonable price. That's a nice size sculpture. You know, if this was marble, I'd be out here for a month. You could come back in the spring and interview me with the finished product, you know.
I see myself more as a tree mortician than a tree killer. I don't kill the trees just to carve them. I take care of them after they're already, I make them look good after they're already dead, you know. You know, bears is where you make the money, but I don't like to carve bears all the time, so I carve something different all the time. Carved a 3-foot midget with a 36-inch penis. It was pretty ridiculous. My mother didn't really like that one. I carved a lot of naked women, things you can carve without having a picture or not having to think about it. My biggest piece, the nicest piece, was a Bigfoot that I did. It was 7 foot tall. It went for $800. Now, if I was somebody that's been in the business quite a lot longer, it probably would have been $3,000. But for me, that was a good day.
When it comes right down to it, it's all about instant gratification. You can do a big piece in a short amount of time. I mean, ADHD's alive and well in this gang. We are the Viking bikers of the art world. And it kind of, you know, I'm borrowing the phrase, but it's kind of true because it's you know, we have gasoline-powered equipment. You know, none of us are slaves to fashion. And, you know, we all have Stetsons. We kind of, most of us fit the part. A lot of my carving stories have to do with injuries and pain. I was being filmed by a Pittsburgh television station, and and I was trying to show off a little bit and for the camera, and it was at an elementary school, and there were kids everywhere. So I take my big saw, I turn it over, make some chips, and I flick off a little piece of wood just to show off. Well, the little piece of wood got caught on the tooth of the chain, and it went whack right in the face. Blood squirts out, and there was all these kids, and I was like, oh, jeez, I'm like this, and I went left, and I went over and pat some ice on it, and then the camera guy said, come over to me, he said, that was great, I want to send us into America's Funniest Videos. But I don't know, we didn't win. Chainsaw carving has taken root in quite a number of different countries now. It's getting bigger and bigger. Over in Russia, I'm like the Denny Beach in Russia. See, here I'm no Denny Beach, but over there